welcome to Radio Friends. It's Friday, February 13th, and tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So our guest today, Larry Brown, a singer, songwriter, storyteller. He has a story that can fit for Friday the 13th and Valentine's Day.
Oh, sure.
Right?
It's got love, romance, suspense.
Everything.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Dragons.
Okay, so without any further ado, Larry Brown, I don't know the name of this story.
Well, you'll find out.
Okay, here's Larry Brown with the story. We'll find out the name, too.
When King Arthur was young, he was out camping and hunting, stayed over one night, and in the middle of the night, a thundering sound occurred. Arthur got up to draw his sword to fight whatever it was, and into his campfire rode a knight on a horse. The knight dismounted, and there for the first time Arthur met old King Pellinore. Pellinore became later one of Arthur's best friends. In fact, he was the oldest knight of the Round Table. But that was their first meeting, and Pellinore was explaining to Arthur that he had been all his life chasing a very unusual dragon. He described it as having spots like a leopard, a head and a tail like a lion, claws, and a growl in its belly. It was a dragon, but it seemed to be very unusual. Old Pellinore called it the questing beast. Well, it was a number of years later, old King Pellinore had been tracking the questing beast down to the English Channel. It had gotten in the water and headed off, and old Pellinore stood at the edge looking out as the dragon disappeared over the horizon. But at that time a ship came by. He hailed it, and there he met two other knights, Sirs Palamore and Grummore. Palamedes and Grunmore. And the two knights, wanting an adventure, said, "Get on," and off they went chasing the dragon, which took them to the shores of Flanders. The beast disappeared in the woods, but they were greeted by an entourage from the King and Queen of Flanders. And they were guests there for several days. And it was there that old King Pellinore fell in love with the princess. As he described her, she was stout, a good cook, could ride a horse. He referred to her lovingly as Princess Piggy. Oh, he was in love. Well, the three knights were out having an adventure, and a mysterious ship pulled up to the shore with no crew. Well, wanting an adventure, the three knights got on, but the next thing you know, the ship took off on its own, headed north. And as old Pellinore looked over the edge of the boat, there was Princess Piggy waving sadly, and peering from the woods was the questing beast, looking forlorn as well. But off the ship went, queer to the north, all the way to the northern islands. But during that entire trip, Pellinore was sad and melancholy, so missing Princess Piggy. He was writing love letters all the time, getting sadder and sadder and sadder, to the point that Sirs Palamedes and Grunmore could hardly take this old melancholy night. But finally the ship arrived. It was there at the northern islands, there in the realm of the somewhat treacherous and wily Queen Margaux, half-sister to Arthur. Well, they dismounted, and she welcomed them into her realm and treated them. Well, they explained their story about sad old Pellinore, and she said perhaps a hunt would be good. In fact, she wanted them to go hunting a unicorn. Well, they tried and did not find it. Now, of course, if they'd found one, then they would have fallen under the trap of Queen Margaux. But it got the two knights to thinking, well, maybe we could get some canvas from the fisher folk, we could paint it and create a head and a tail, and the two of us could become the questing beast. And then we'd get old King Pellinore out of his melancholy if he could be back to chasing the dragon. So that's what they did. They made themselves a costume. Night after night they would practice walking. Grunmore was the rear and Palamedes was the head, and finally they got it so they thought they could venture out. And so that night they went out. Well, the next morning, old King Pellinore was sadly walking on the beach, looking off into the distance, wishing for Princess Piggy, when he heard yells and screams coming from a cliff up above the ocean. And there he saw Sir Palamedes and Sir Grunmore hanging on the edge of the cliff with something about them. Old Pellinore said, "Grunmore, you have a tail. Palamedes, you have a head." And all they could say to him was, "Kill the beast, kill the beast." And there on the shoreline was the questing beast, who had swum all the way, perhaps following King Pellinore. "Kill the beast. I think it wants to mate with us." And they were desperately trying to climb up the cliff. Fortunately, they were saved by Queen Margaux, who had lowered a rope and brought them up, took them back to the castle, pulled up the drawbridge, and then the two knights thought, oh no, We've left old King Pellinore defenseless on the beach with the dragon. Oh, he'll be devoured. And just to confirm their suspicion, coming down the road toward the castle was the questing beast. But then, to their further surprise, right behind them was old King Pellinore with Princess Piggy on his arm. She picked up stones and began to pummel the beast with stones, who ran back off into the woods. Well, all of them were reunited at the castle. It seems that Princess Piggy had watched the questing beast swim after old King Pellinore, so she got a boat and followed the questing beast, which brought her to the Northern Islands as well. Now, as this is a Valentine's and romantic story, I need to finish the rest of the story. Well, King Pellinore and Princess Piggy, well, they lived happily ever after. And Sir Grunmore, he fell under the wiles of Queen Morgause and stayed quite some time. And as for Sir Palamedes, he and generations after him are now pursuing the questing beast. Or is it the other way around? The questing beast.
Oh, I tell you what, that had a lot of twists and turns there.
This is an Arthurian legend. It comes out of some of the tales accumulated under the stories of the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, and it fit perfect for Friday the 13th and Valentine's Day.
A romantic
mystery.
Mystery.
You got it. All right, Larry Brown, thank you so much for coming by. If you would like to have Larry come to your group or organization, you're more than happy to tell stories, right?
Oh, I'll tell stories to anybody, womb to tomb.
Yeah, and how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can contact me at brownstory@hotmail.com or check out my website, brownstory.com, and information is there.
And you've got CDs, and you have DVDs.
Have a DVD, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And they can...
have some stories published in some anthologies, too.
Yeah. So how do they get your DVDs? Same way?
Same way, contact me, and we can arrange to get them to you.
You were telling me, we've got about 30 seconds left here, that starting a new storytelling organization?
Well, the Missouri Storytelling, Inc., goes by the name Motel, is now moved here, and I'm one of the officers for that. And we're Motel. And the National Storytelling Network has moved their national offices to Kansas City.
Okay.
So we're beginning to coordinate a lot more storytelling around in the area, and groups that are interested, people want to learn storytelling or hear a storyteller.
Yeah. My father was a wonderful storyteller.
We have a website, Missouri Storytelling, too.
Thank you. Larry Brown. Monday, Columbia Water and Light. You know, they're trying, the city of Columbia is trying to win $5 million.
Yes, I know.
All right, we're going to talk about that. Program directed by Travis McMillan, Reynolds Journalism Institute Audio, Pat Akers, KBIA. Our floor director, Lowell Thomas, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mauser. Bye-bye.